So Josh has already said it. I'm talking about bringing real-time VoIP metrics to the present. Basically, I've had enough of how VoIP metrics are. I want to do something about it. So I'm Dan Jenkins, at Dan Jenkins on Twitter. I work for Holiday Extras. We sell airport parking, travel insurance, foreign SIM cards, extras for your holiday. So you might want to take some of these details down. There's a nice demo at the end. So join the wireless, Dan Astricon. SIP details, log in there, user 1000, pass 1000. Okay? So just a disclaimer, I'm not here to bash anyone or anything. These solutions that are out there for a reason, but let's make them better. So what's the problem? The problem is I've been using Asterisk for the past 2 years, on and off, personally and within the Holiday Extras group. And Asterisk has all this data. It knows how many calls are going through the system. It knows SLAs on queues. It knows how many queues you've got, how many agents are logged in. But where does all this data go? How do you see all this data? So all the current solutions have all got their own problems. So some are proprietary. You need a license. You need to pay a ton of money. Some are OS device specific. So there's a ton out there that show up on Windows. I run Mac. I shouldn't have to have a VM to be able to look at stats. Most have old technology. So a good example is getting some metrics, making a graph on the server, making it into an image, and then sending it back down to the thing that's displaying it. What's wrong with that? You can't do anything with that graph. Most are expensive to run. So quite a few run run using Java. Anyone that's kind of used some of these solutions will know you need a beefy box to be able to do these things. That in its own is expensive. Let alone expensive in terms of kind of manpower needed to run these things. You can't really read it. It says 1990s. Most look like they're from the 1990s. I'm not a designer. I can't design, but I know what looks good. I know people that have to look at these graphs and stats all day, and if I had to do that every single day, I think I'd pull out my eyes. They look terrible. Once again, disclaimer: I'm not bashing them. Let's find a better solution. So delays. Asterisk. What is Asterisk? Asterisk is a real-time communications platform. What are all of these solutions doing? They are refreshing every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, at which point your whole picture might have changed. So we're in a real-time age. There's real-time technologies out there. Let's start using them. Zero interactivity. So as I was saying, graphs that are generated as images. I like to be able to click on graphs and kind of say, oh, I want data for this hour, and it just dynamically change because it can. None of these work. None of the solutions that are out there at the moment do it, as far as I'm aware. Put your hand up if you disagree. So it's all counterintuitive. You have to do extra stuff. You have to go off and do another search for a different time period. It should all just be intuitive. It's a balancing act. It's a massive balancing act. So at the moment, you have to have like MySQL databases. You then have to back up those databases. You have to run a particular OS version or Java version or whatever. It's a big balancing act. So it's not as fun as walking a tightrope. So after all that bashing, what's the solution? So around 2 to 3 months ago, I came up with this talk, a plan for this talk, and submitted it. Mr. Duffett and co. thought it was a good idea, So I went away and started kind of planning how I was going to do it. So I was going to create this generic dashboard solution that you could just kind of plug into Asterisk, and the AMI would go and get information, and this dashboard would just kind of come to life with stats and what was going on at that time. It'd be open, so anyone could use it. It would be great, wouldn't it? Everyone's shaking, yeah. 1 month ago, I realized that I hadn't really got anywhere with it. Because it's mammoth. Like, taking on the past 15 years of rubbish. It's a mammoth task. I just kept hitting roadblocks anywhere I went. So I realized it can't be done, not as it stands today, because Asterisk is its own flaw as such. Asterisk use is so diverse. It's used by so many different people that you can't come up with a solution that just works for everyone. So you've got small businesses, and they've got like an EEX trunk or a SIP trunk, and they've got 5 extensions or something like that. And they want to be able to see how many how many calls have they got coming in at the time, possibly. But they're different. Their needs are different to a large corporation, like Holiday Extras, who have got over 500 extensions, over 100 queues, 90 DADI channels that they want to know what the status of those all are. We run a contact center, so we want to be able to group those queues into different metrics. So you can start seeing they're really different. The needs of both of those are so diverse that you can't come up with this massive solution. But that's kind of wrong anyway. So yeah, I gave up. No one would use it. I could spend probably 3-4 months making something, but would anyone actually use it? Everyone's kind of been happy with the past 15 years worth of dodgy-looking things. So all was not lost, which is why I'm still standing here today. So when you take a step back, you start to realize that building this mammoth solution isn't the right thing to do. You start looking at what Asterisk does and how Asterisk is made and how other communities do things. So you start thinking, well, let's develop something small. You give something small to people, and you build stuff on top of it, and you make it all modular. And people will then carry on building those modules. This is something I've learned a lot from Node.js. I'm a big Node.js developer. You build something small. So Node's core is tiny. And then there's all these modules that people make. And it's the modules that make Node.js great. So let's do something similar. So what am I building? An open source, scalable dashboard base. I know the picture doesn't really have anything to do with it. I couldn't find one. Yeah. So the technology is in Asterisk. So the kind of base that I've built so far uses the AMI. It's what I've been doing for the past 2 years. But going forward, you could use the ARI to get some information through its WebSocket events. The ARI is kind of limited in terms of I want some information, like queue information, and give it back to you, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, which is something I hope will change, because I don't want to have the AMI running and doing ARI stuff, etc. But right now, you'd have to use both. You could just use the AMI, but there's some really nice things in the ARI that would give you some information. If you don't know what the ARI is, you should have gone to David's talk. It's a REST interface into Asterisk. It's going to do an awful lot of good for Asterisk. It's going to bring an awful lot of web developers into Asterisk, which is absolutely amazing. And if you want to know more, go talk to David, or there's information up on the wiki. However, I was in Astra DevCon on Monday and heard a little nugget of information. I don't know whether or not to give David Lee an award or not, because he's kind of ruined what I planned, but it's great. So in Asterisk 12, there's res.stats.d and there's res.chan.stats. So if you don't know what stats.d is, it's what am I looking for? It's an open source stats collector. So you send data to it via UDP or whatever, and stats.d kind of takes that data and stores it. And then you can make custom backends to stats.d and send that data to a backend, whether or not that's like Librato, which is a graphing thing, or whatever. You can write your own. And that's made by the guys at Etsy. And there's a module already written for stats.d that would kind of help me an awful lot right now. It's called stats.d socket.io. So I don't really know what the pros and cons are. I only heard about it on Monday, so I'll be looking at that. But I'm going to carry on as though I don't know about that. So getting back to the solution. So the solution would be browser-based, is browser-based. Everyone now has a browser. You probably have 2 right in front of you, maybe even 3. A phone, a tablet, a laptop. So everyone's got a browser. You can't really see that very well. It would have cross-browser support. So you don't want to get into the realms of, oh, it can only run on Chrome, because not everyone runs Chrome. What's the point in having a web-based browser app that only works in one browser? Answer, there is no point. Web apps can do pretty much anything that a native app can do now, like within reason. Like unless you want to do really crazy stuff, a web app can pretty much do anything. And if it can't do it, then you could do it with Flash or something else. You could do it. So it'd have tied-in communication tools. So like SIP over WebSockets, WebRTC. It's all just this one unified dashboard. And so imagine being able to list a load of agents that are in your call center and just be able to click on their name and it automatically make a phone call to them in the browser. That's pretty cool. And this is all possible today. But stats aren't really what I do. I mean, I look at enough data from Asterisk to know that the solutions out there are rubbish, aren't up to date. But what data do people really want to see? Like I said, I'm no designer. How do they want the data visualized? Do they want it in graphs? Do they want it in tables? Like the solutions that I see today are just these massive tables of data. They make no sense. They're poorly designed. So I've bored you enough. Let's get on to the solution. So I'm a Node.js guy. JavaScript is amazing now. And there's some really cool stuff coming in the ECMA6 update. So yeah, if you want to talk Node, come talk to me afterwards. It's great. And it's a really good partner to Asterisk. The good thing about Node is Node is kind of event-driven. What's Asterisk? It's event-driven. You make a phone call, and you get an event. So yeah, they're a really good combination. So at the moment, I said I'm using the AMI. I've just released an update to my AMI module on NPM, which deals with like the differences in 1.4, which is coming out in 12, which went into beta today. And it just makes everything a bit faster. So tie up to the browser using socket.io. Socket.io gives you kind of WebSocket connection to the browser. And if your browser is too old for WebSockets, then goes back to polling and keeps going back and back and back in different ways so that it works up down to IE6. And hopefully no one in here is running IE6. Otherwise, you all need to get out. Bootstrap. Like I said, I'm no designer. I can make something look all right, but why reinvent the wheel? For something like this, Bootstrap's great. It used to be known as Twitter Bootstrap. It's just Bootstrap now. Use a web framework. Don't go and create your own. So I'm using AngularJS. This allows you to kind of tie data to browser elements really easily. So you can start saying, well, generate a table of all my agents or all of my calls that are currently in. And then when a bit of data changes that I'm going to push back down to the browser, Angular is just going to change that for me. It's really nice. Graphing libraries. So use an open source graphing library. So you'll see so far everything's open source. So currently I'm using HighCharts, but D3 is actually really good. D3 is completely open source, whereas HighCharts you need a license if you use it commercially. Up until now, if we made this great solution, this base solution, on what I've talked about so far, and your node process died, you'd lose all of your data. Like, you'd be able to get some of it back from Asterisk itself, but you'd lose all the data. So use a database of sorts for persistence. LevelDB is kind of the Node.js of databases. It's single-threaded, it's lightning quick, it's a great accompaniment to Node, and it's really easy to set up. You don't have to set up, like, you don't have to get your ops guys or whatever to set up a MySQL server. You just kind of say, oh, I want LevelDB, and it just works. It's really good. So listening to live calls. I'm not sure if the ARI does this yet, being able to spy. No. But you could do something like this. Make it all browserified. And all of this, you don't need to install Java. You don't need to install Flash. It's all just native HTML, which means it works on your iPad, and it works on your iPhone. So I was saying earlier how things are really expensive to run. So they're all expensive in one way or another. Node.js is incredibly cheap. It's cheap due to the restrictions that are within Node. Like in Node, you can't, unless you do crazy stuff in extra flags and stuff like that, you can't use more than a gig's worth of memory. I know I've seen like Java things that are using a stupid amount of memory, and that's expensive. So Node is single-threaded, and can handle an awful lot on one. Like at Holiday Extras, we have RESTful APIs that handle a ton of traffic, and they're all on micros on EC2. They're not expensive to run. The future of apps is in the browser. I'm kind of drilling down on this quite a bit because I'm fed up of seeing more and more apps being built outside of the browser. In a couple of years' time, most of the apps that you're going to download are going to be in your browser, whether or not they're Chrome apps or something like that, but they're all web technology. So developers need to get on board with it, get used to web technologies. Asterisk itself allows you to do this now using the ARI, which is going to introduce so many new developers to the project. I think we were talking about it in Astro DevCon. But for true success, in this kind of project, you need two things. You need a community, and you need it to be open source. A couple of weeks ago, I went to NodeConf EU in Dublin, and the main guy in Node, Isaac, did a keynote on how important community is, and it's entirely relevant to the Asterisk community today. So just to show you how easy it is, I'll show you a quick demo. Hopefully nothing's going to break. Right, okay. Right, so. Can you all see that? Yeah? So this is my project. Like, this is my base project. So, I mean, if I get rid of my dependencies, I've got, so this is written in Node. This is Node code. So there's a server.js, and then I've got some libraries that I've made. So there's a queue library, for example. So this knows about queues, and it goes, and it knows that a queue has an abandoned rate, and it has a talk time. And so you create a new queue for you go and ask Asterisk for all of its queues when it starts up, when the node process starts up. It goes, tell me what queues you've got, and tell me what, and when you get back that information, you get back hold time averages, and you get back how many completed calls there are, how many calls there are in that queue at that time. And so you kind of bring Node up to scratch with the data that's in Asterisk. But you can make one for agents. You can see I haven't. You can make one for calls. You can make one for dialing channels, and it's all kind of separated out. And then there's this kind of one Asterisk class that wraps all of that. So in server.js, you can see that I'm asking for that library. I'm starting Express, which is an HTTP framework. I'm starting Socket.io, which gives me those WebSocket connections. I'm creating an Asterisk object using that host and that AMI username and password. Then I listen in on Asterisk and say, initialize it. Thanks. This is setting up static paths for like JavaScript and the index files. And then this is the bit that small bit of code knows about queues, and it goes, oh, there's a new call. That means I need to update my queue. Then we've got client library code. Yeah. So this is a dashboard. So you can say, I want a new dashboard. And then in here, it knows how to make a graph. So let's take a look at that. Let's see a demo. I've talked enough. So you'll see I've got a pie running under that table, which is running Asterisk 11, because I haven't updated it. I'm also running Node. So I'm using some of the cool stuff that's in ECMA6. So you have to start Node with the Harmony flag. And you can see there, that's me connecting to, from here, I'm connecting to the AMI. I've connected. I'm sending in the login event, etc. I've got back a raw response. This is the AMI beta that I've released. And then hopefully, so if I go here, you'll see if I do that, does that? No, it doesn't make the console bigger. Anyway, down here you can see I've got ad.graph, and that's it. Hang on. I think I changed it, so you had to have some extra information. Let's change it to index. Why is this not working now? It was working half an hour ago. So let's make a call to my Asterisk box. So Alison's talking to me. I've got hold music. You can see in the background, here's my node process, and it's getting all of these events. So I've currently got 3 calls going into Asterisk. Which means I should be able to go back to here. There you go. So I've currently got 3 graphs that are showing all of the same information from that same queue. And so if I zoom out, or just refresh, there we go. Why is that still looking terrible? Anyway, so we can, I think it's because, there we go. There we go. So if I make that call again, you'll see it jump up, and you'll see it jump up again. And so, I mean, this is all on one queue, and I'm only graphing one queue right now, but the code is so modular that you can, let me shut this up. There you go. And it's gone back down to 0. That's a real-time in-browser graph. And that's how simple it is. All of that code, that minuscule amount of code, because everything else is in like dependencies, NPM modules. So it's that easy. And then in here, you can kind of select, I want data from this time period. I mean, that's a really basic demo. And you could do so much more with it. And it's event-driven, not polled. Exactly. Great. So let me just close that and go back to here. It's the bad thing about doing a demo. You have to kind of mirror screens and record slideshow. No, I don't want to replace it. Play slideshow. No. There we go. No. There we go. Right. Okay. No? It's now not working. No, I've lost control. It won't let me do anything. Hold on. I think it's got confused because I unmirrored my screen. No? Does anyone know how to use Keynote? Clear recording. Clear. Record slideshow. There we go. Okay. Something weird with the recording. Am I running out of time? Okay, that's all I need. So hopefully you can see there that the code that I actually used that wasn't a Node module that I'd written or anything like that, nothing that I actually have to maintain within this project. So JavaScript, there's 245 lines of code to do all of that. And there's 13 lines of HTML. And that's, when you start putting in Bootstrap, like Bootstrap CSS, that doesn't count. It's all to do with your markup. So that's incredibly, incredibly small to be able to push something like that to the browser. I mean, I don't see that as impressive because I work with it every day. But obviously, we're not doing stuff right within this VoIP community. So you can see why I'm going down this route. We can start creating these really cool things. And I mean, I saw a dashboard that James Bodie, TruePhone, have made. And it's so nice. And that's created with Bootstrap. But obviously, you have to pay for TruePhone and everything else. I want to create something that's open that we can give back to the community. So I need help. So the best thing about open projects is collaboration. There's no point me spending a couple months doing it. I've created this kind of base framework that I can expand on if people want to do it. So GitHub is great. Fork it, add something to it, merge it back in. It's what it's there for. So something that I've learned is not everyone needs this super massive project. Most people only need this small thing. And then they modularize it, and they bring in modules and everything. So yeah, like I said earlier, this is how Node acts. This is the closest picture I could find to source. Going back to what I was saying earlier, making something small, let people build off that, and we can make a community out of it, and we can give back to that. We can give back to the Asterisk community. Release it as open source, just like Asterisk. So I need your help, or better put, the Asterisk empire needs your help. But there has to be a demand for it. Everyone that uses Asterisk, like I said earlier, is unique. I'm sure there aren't 2 Asterisk installs that are the same, except for like backup servers. So let's create something awesome. I've updated my Asterisk AMI module to deal with this stuff better. I'm making an Asterisk AMI server, a fake one, so that when I'm on a plane or on a train, I can develop against kind of real-life, high-demand VoIP traffic. And that's written in Node. I'll be publishing that up to GitHub soon. And later on today, I'll be publishing my base project up to GitHub for this. But I don't have a name for it. So if you want to, tweet me with a name before I make up a terrible one. And that's it. Tweet me. Thank you. Any questions? Hold on. Hold on. Let's.
Just to get my understanding right, so you are using Node.js is running on the server side, and it's collecting the information real time and storing it in some sort of database. So when you connect with the browser, you can still see all the historical data as well.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. At the moment, it stores it in memory in Node.
Okay.
I haven't written the persistent stuff for it yet. Because again, that's more time that people might not even be interested in this project. I am, but I don't know if anyone else is. But yeah, it's very easy to then go and add persistence using whatever. You could use Redis. I like LevelDB. It's a nice storage. Yeah? Hold on, Josh. Run.
In its current state, can it read events from multiple Asterisk instances?
There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't.
And collate them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
You could quite easily, within this Asterisk main library, instead of creating one AMI connection, you'd make 2. It's something that I could probably add into my Asterisk AMI module so that it collates everything and gets it and merges it all together and then spits it out as though it was one server. That would be quite a nice, cool addition that I could do if there's need for it.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant.
Yeah. Anyone else got a question? No? Cool. Okay. Thank you very much.